Ever feel like you're buried under a mountain of debt? Well, what if I told you there's a way out? And no, it doesn't involve winning the lottery.
It's about a clear, powerful plan. Today, we're diving into a real-life story of how one person conquered a massive debt, starting with a number that, well, it would make most of us just want to crawl back into bed.
Yep, $85,000. Just let that sink in for a second. That was the number. For a lot of people, a number like that, it's not just debt, right? It feels like a life sentence. But for the person in our story today, this wasn't the end. Oh no, it was the beginning of an absolutely epic financial fight.
So who's the hero of our story? Well, let's call her Sarah. And her debt? It wasn't from some one-off crazy purchase. It was probably pretty familiar to a lot of us. You've got the big one, student loans. Then you've got that painful, high-interest credit card debt. And to top it all off, a car loan, the whole trifecta.
Okay, so every single comeback story has that one moment, the breaking point. And for Sarah, you might think it was some huge financial disaster, but nope, it was something surprisingly small that pushed her over the edge.
And this quote from Sarah, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? I wasn't living, I was just paying for my past. Think about that. She was working her tail off, making decent money, but every single paycheck just poof, vanished into this black hole of interest payments. It's like being stuck on a treadmill. You're running and running, but going nowhere. Just constantly paying for old decisions.
So what was that final straw? A flat tire. Seriously. The repair bill came out to $400. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a crazy amount of money, right? But she didn't have it. She couldn't cover it. And having to reach out for help over something so manageable, that was it. That was the moment. The embarrassment just hit her and it flipped a switch. Right then and there, she knew things had to change, period.
And boy, did things change. Sarah didn't just wish for it, she built a full-on 3-step battle plan to attack this debt head-on. So let's get into it. Let's break down exactly what she did.
All right, step 1. She had to choose her weapon, her strategy. And she knew that just paying the minimums on everything wasn't going to cut it. No way. So she decided to launch a really targeted attack using a method called the debt avalanche.
Now, you've probably heard of the two big strategies for this, right? There's the debt snowball, where you knock out your smallest debts first. It feels great, you get those quick wins. But Sarah went a different route. She chose the avalanche. And with the avalanche, you put every single extra penny you have towards the debt with the highest interest rate. For her, that was a nasty credit card with a 22% interest rate. Ouch. Now, this way can feel a little slower at the start, but trust me, from a math perspective, it's way, way more powerful.
So, why go with the avalanche? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, it's simple, really. It all comes down to the math. The snowball method feels good, for sure, but the avalanche is what saves you the most cold, hard cash in the long run. By hammering away at that high interest debt first, she ended up paying way less in total interest, and that means her journey to zero debt was both faster and cheaper. It's a win-win.
Okay, on to step 2. Sarah was smart. She knew that cutting your spending is only half the fight. To really speed things up, she needed more firepower. She needed to bring in more money.
So what'd she do? She used the skills she already had, marketing, and started freelancing on nights and weekends. And look, it wasn't some overnight success story. It started out small, just a couple $100 a month. But she stuck with it, and within a year, she had built that side hustle into a steady stream of over $1,500 of extra income every single month. And the best part? Every last dollar of that went straight to crushing her debt.
And that brings us to step 3. This was the most intense part of her whole plan. With that extra income flowing in, she turned her attention back to her spending, and she adopted a strategy she called the scorched earth budget. And yeah, it sounds extreme because, well, it absolutely was.
Let's take a peek at her spending before all this went down. And it probably looks pretty familiar, right? You've got big chunks of money going to eating out, all those different subscriptions we all have, a little bit of shopping here and there. And meanwhile, that little slice for actually paying down debt, it's kind of sad, isn't it? Just painfully small.
And now, look at the after. This is where the magic happens. She went through and canceled every single subscription that wasn't absolutely essential. She started cooking all her meals, packing her lunch every single day. Eating out went from a regular thing to a super rare treat. And the result? Whoa, that tiny little debt repayment slice just exploded. It completely took over her budget.
So how did she stick with something so intense? It was all about this mindset shift right here. She started to see every dollar differently. As she put it,
Every dollar was either a vote for my freedom or a vote for my cage. Wow. So it wasn't about depriving yourself of a coffee. It was about choosing freedom. Every dollar she didn't spend on something frivolous was a vote for the future she was building for herself. Powerful stuff.
So there you have it. The plan was in place. She had her debt avalanche attack. She had her income boost. And she had her scorched earth budget. Sarah was ready. And so began the long, long road to zero.
Now let's be real. This stuff doesn't happen overnight. It wasn't a quick fix. This took her 3 years. That's over 1,000 days of discipline. 1,000 days of saying no to stuff she wanted, of working late nights on her freelance projects. Just pure, unwavering focus. And then it happened. One day, she logged in and made that final payment. The mountain she'd been climbing for so long was just gone. The balance on her screen hit $0.00. That $85,000 wiped out completely.
You'd think she'd be jumping for joy, right? Throwing a huge party. But she said the feeling wasn't really excitement. It was something quieter, deeper. It was just peace. For the first time in her adult life, her money was actually hers. She was in control. Now that is a real freedom.
Sarah's story is just so inspiring. But the most important thing to remember is that it's not a miracle. It's a blueprint. So let's boil this all down. What are the key lessons here that you can use to start your own financial comeback?
So what did we really learn here? It all comes down to 3 key things. Number 1, you got to have a clear plan. You can't just wing it. For her, it was the debt avalanche. Number 2, iron discipline. You have to be willing to make the tough choices, like she did with her budget. And maybe most important of all, number 3, you need a powerful why, a reason to keep going. For Sarah, it was that feeling of peace and freedom. That's the fuel that gets you through the tough days.
Look, Sarah's story just goes to show you what's possible when you have the right strategy and the right mindset. But now I really want to hear from you. What's your #1 finance hack? What's the best tip you've ever used to attack debt or save money?
Drop your #1 finance hack in the comments below. You never know. Your advice might just be the tipping point for someone else watching this right now.